hook on the Chisel Plow sitting over there and get started. So we got the tanks mounted on this thing. Makes getting in and out of the door interesting. So there. Well, now I'm just waiting for fuel. Got it all hooked up. I'm ready to go. You've got the new stainless steel 8-roller pump for the saddle tanks. Got the solenoid there, and the on off to the outlet, which is plugged. Because I'm not putting fertilizer down with the Chisel Plow, though that is a good idea. Put it down deep. And this is an electric pressure regulator. Easier to use one of these on this type of cab because you don't have to stick your arm out the back window to adjust it manually. We haven't run that wiring yet. I've got the pressure gauge mounted outside the cab on the fender, so if any of that starts leaking, it doesn't get all over the inside of the cab. These are 200-gallon tanks. I know I said before they were 250. The seller said they were 250s. Yeah, we didn't purdy them up any. Kind of lost the time to do that. But the main thing is that they work. They'll work. Well, haven't tested that out yet, but we're pretty confident. We've done this before. Got the big filter under here. Easy to get to. Looks like it was a factory option. Like it was made for it. Here's our fill. Goes back and fills from the center of both tanks. You got valves under these tanks so you can shut them off individually. Got that set up. We're rigging up this disc. It's a Kraus disc for it. Don't quite have all the pieces to finish it either. But that's the general idea. Got clearance here. I might have to twist this nozzle a little bit so it doesn't spray on the lift frame. The amazing thing is this nozzle, when you fold up these wings, it goes up a few inches, pretty much stays in the same position. And when you lift it up, this tire goes under it. Feels perfect. The center. And to use a little chunk of wood because this metal main bar is thicker than these, but they're the same height across the top. They're thinner underneath. So, clearance there. And same thing over here. Just don't quite have enough pieces yet. We'll get them. And I figured out to run the supply hose from this setup, this little manifold setup, across here in through this fold stop and under. See, when this comes down and sets on the frame, this hose will be forward of it, and this turn will be bent a little bit more. So that worked out pretty good. Just need to get it set up on the other side. We're running these check valves on the nozzles. Those are 7-stream nozzles, and they don't open until, I can't remember if it's 5 or 10 psi. So when you shut it off, the check valve shuts off and the nozzle almost immediately stops putting any fertilizer out. So it won't empty all the tubes every time you shut it off. It'll hold it in the tubes. But since we've done that, we wanted to mount a filter on the tongue of this thing. But since these hoses hold pressure when it's shut off, if we wanted to check that filter and unscrew it, it'd still be pressurized. It'd gush out all the fertilizer and everything. So we put ball valves on either end of this filter to prevent that from happening. And we just need the piece of hose from there up the tongue to the tractor, which is different from this one to the other one. Kind of need it hooked up to the deer to figure out that length of hose. This is the setup on the mulcher we used last year. I don't think I made a video of it, but it's the same idea. You got the filter on the tongue, ball valve on either end of it. Because of the pressure from the check valves, and those are the brown nozzles. They flow quite a bit more, because we were trying to put down all the 32% in one pass. This has been sitting here since last year, and you can see there is still fertilizer in these hoses. We never cleaned it out. It's black because of our nitrogen stabilizer. I wouldn't be afraid of putting it down and using it, but we're not set up to put fertilizer down with this mulcher this year. I'm going to put it down in 2 passes with the disc. We'll be pulling this with the 180, which doesn't have any tanks. So that's the setup on the mulcher. So we run it through this hose, run it up through this frame, up to this T, and we used regular PVC pipe, glued it all together. The T's there, and a straight through nozzle mount under there. I had to weld on these individual little tabs that they mount to onto that the tine frame. So I can get a good view on one. hold them up at a kind of an odd angle. I had to work on that to figure out where they needed to be. I kind of tacked the edges of them and run some water through them to figure out where they would spray, if they would hit. Now, we never cleaned this mulcher after we used it. Never cleaned any dirt off of it. And it is not rusting away to pieces. Those nozzles work. There's a few little spots where the rust is really bad, but nothing significant, nothing major at all. And that's it. Set up on the mulcher.